let's see here. Let's bring myself onto the screen. Yes, so here I am. So, hey, welcome to the weekly shred. My name is Jim Schultz. I am your host over here with F Cubed. And so every Thursday night we go live at 8 o'clock on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Might even mix in a little bit of LinkedIn here in the future. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you guys kind of tips and tactics to help you all get shredded, man. Help you guys reach your fat loss goals. And so obviously inside of F Cubed, you've got all three F's, fitness, finance, and faith. Thursday nights at 8 o'clock is fitness only, and it's really specifically focused on fat loss and really specifically focused on getting you guys a little studio space over there in Shredsville. So tonight, man, strap it up because we're going to do nothing. We're going to do something that is super exciting. There is nothing more exciting than finding your maintenance calories. And so, man, I hope you guys got the popcorn all popped. You got your, obviously your diet soda ready to go. Aspartame be damned. We are going to show you a simple way to determine your maintenance calories based on your metabolism. So what I want you guys to do is, as we're working through tonight, so I don't have the, well, I think I have the technology, but I don't have the mental capacity to be able to field comments while I'm going live. It throws me off, and I've tried it before and I haven't been able to do it, just yet. But I want to mix that in the future. But nevertheless, whatever platform you're on, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, if you have any questions or comments as we're going along, definitely drop them down below. Definitely let me know, and I'll be sure and check them out after the live and get anything addressed, that you guys are curious about. And so let's kind of dive right in here, man. So why even bother, man? Some of you may have tuned in, may have just randomly found me on the internet, and you're like, yeah, I'm not listening to this cat anymore. But if you're still here, you might be wondering, why would I even bother, right? Like, why even bother trying to find, your maintenance calorie level? Well, let's start with what it means, what it actually represents. So it is the caloric level at which your body weight remains fairly constant from one day to the next. It may not be perfectly constant, right? Like, it may not be exactly the same from one day to the next. I mean, a lot of things can influence your body weight from one day to the next. I mean, you've got, your sleep, like how much or how little you sleep. Obviously, the more you sleep, the leaner you will be. There's a ton of reasons why, not the least of which is, the more often you sleep, the more times you get up in the middle of the night to hit the old potty. And the more times you hit the potty in the middle of the night, the leaner you're going to be, if only from a water standpoint, right? But then you've got things like sodium, for you lovely ladies out there, you've got, obviously your cycles and your times of the month. And so there's a lot of things that can influence your body weight from one day to the next. But just generally speaking, if you were to look at like your average body weight across a week, for let's say, if you're eating around your maintenance calories, it doesn't have to be exact, right? But if you're pretty close, like plus or minus 100 calories, let's say, maybe 75 calories or so, you're going to see your body weight remain fairly constant. Now, before we dive into the actual details, because I'm going to show you guys exactly how to find this number tonight. Like, this is really valuable stuff. This is extremely valuable stuff. And here's the reason why. We're going to see this on the very next slide. This might be the most important nutritional metric that you could possibly know about yourself. This might be the most important nutritional number that you could possibly be aware of when it comes to your unique metabolism, when it comes to your body's unique way of processing carbohydrates, processing fats, processing, overall caloric loads. Because no matter what fitness goal you might have, if it's muscle gain, knowing your maintenance calories is going to help a whole lot. If it's fat loss, knowing your maintenance calories is going to help a whole lot. Hey, if it's just overall health, I would argue that knowing your maintenance calories is going to help you a ton. And so it doesn't matter, what pathway you want to walk down in the world of fitness, right? Obviously, I'm kind of fat loss focused here on Thursday nights, but, your goal might be slightly different, right? I mean, I think most people would love to lose a little bit of fat. Some people want to lose like a lot of fat, right? Most people wouldn't mind tightening up even just, just a smidge. But your primary goal might be something else. I still think that, the next 15 minutes or so will be valuable for you. At least I hope they'll be valuable for you. Because once you know this number, and I'm not making this up, man, this is not a hyperbole, this is not a superlative, like this is legit. Once you know this number, it unlocks the pathway to any fitness goal you want to reach, right? Like the ones that I mentioned, muscle gain, fat loss, both, neither, whatever you're trying to do, it's going to help you. It's going to help you get there. So, all right, so let's do it, man. So here's what we want to start with, man. Knowledge is power. So there it is. There's your maintenance calorie level, just kind of that horizontal line in the center there, right? Let's say that that's your maintenance calorie level. Now, I have an example ready to go for you guys with some numbers here in a second, but I just kind of wanted to work through this kind of bigger picture, kind of, in a more generic sense to begin with. If you eat above your maintenance calories, so this is the green region on the slide. If you eat above your maintenance calories, that is what is referred to, obviously, as a caloric surplus. This is where your body is going to be primed to do two things: gain muscle and gain fat. So you are going to, improve your biceps. You're going to improve your pecs. You're going to improve your delts. You're also possibly going to improve your love handles. You're also possibly going to improve your lower back fat. Like, you're also possibly going to, improve, maybe increase, maybe add a little padding to some areas that you don't want to add any padding to, right? Of course. All right, so what about what's on the bottom there in that red region? This, of course, is where you eat below your maintenance calories. This is a caloric deficit. This is where your body's going to be primed to lose muscle. It's sad, but it's true. And lose fat. So now that we understand these, right, now that we understand these regions, we can move forward with an example. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and preempt my audience, because I know what some of y'all are thinking out there. Some of y'all, you guys are crafty, man. You guys are smart. You guys are like, wait a second, Jim. What if I can gain some muscle? So kind of take from the surplus region, while I also lose some fat. So kind of take from the deficit region. Can you show me how to do that, Zen Master? Not really. Definitely not tonight. But maybe we'll talk about that a little bit next week. All I want to say right now is this is probably... Well, let me back up before I get into that. Is it possible to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time? The answer is yes. It requires some very specific circumstances. In fact, I think this would be a great topic for next week. So we'll talk more about this next week in more detail. But let me kind of, offer up a few thoughts here and not totally leave you guys hanging. It requires some very, very specific circumstances. Like here, I'll give you one of them to kind of, tease you a little bit for next week. If you are brand new to the gym, like if you are a total newbie, you've never trained before, your body, your muscles, your system is so untrained that it will welcome any stimulus, meaning you likely will gain muscle and lose fat simultaneously for months and months, to come. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, could be a year, right? Newbie gains kind of, they vary from one person to the next. But they're very, very real, right? And that's one example when this is definitely possible. If you're a little bit more advanced, if you've been training for a while, then you're obviously not in that same situation. And so if you want to gain muscle, you're going to have to be in a caloric surplus. If you want to lose fat, you're going to have to be in a caloric deficit. That really simplifies things quite a bit, right? Choose one or the other. The biggest mistake that I think I see people make, if it's not number one, it's definitely in the top 5. People try to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. And you know what happens? I've done it myself many, many times. You know what happens? You spin your wheels. You know what happens? You go nowhere. You know what happens? It's like being out in the backyard, right? And you see 2 rabbits, right? And I don't know if you've ever seen any rabbits before, but they're pretty quick, right? Those buggers can move. You're in the backyard. You've got 2 rabbits. One is muscle gain. One is fat loss. And you're like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to catch them both. I'm going to catch them both simultaneously. No, you're not. You're not going to catch either one. It's hard enough to get one of those guys. This is why I love this illustration, because it's hard enough to gain muscle. It's hard enough to lose fat. And it's really hard to keep it off, right? We all know this to be true. And so do yourself a big favor and don't try to go after both of these guys at the same time. But I'll tell you what, man, I will say this. This quarantine, man, straight up, we've all been quarantined now for however many weeks. I'll tell you what, we are all entitled to. We all deserve at least 4 weeks of newbie gains when the gyms reopen. You heard it here first, and I want my newbie gains for at least a month. So we'll see how that plays out. But this is basically how it starts with your maintenance calories. All right. So now that we understand this, let's kind of go one step further and let's talk through how to actually calculate your maintenance calories. Now there's kind of a lot going on this slide, and the next slide is going to be an example filling in all these ideas. But I want to show you all, this is the exact formula. This is the exact, calculation that I use to find my maintenance calories for myself. I've used this on the athletes that I've coached. I've used this and still use this on the students inside of Full Throttle Fat Loss, which, of course, shameless plug, you can check out down in the links in the description if you want me to personally show you the way to Shredsville in exchange for some U.S. currency. You can certainly do that if you want to give it a look. But this is what I use, right? This is straight out of the course, straight out of my playbook. And so I wanted to give you guys exactly what I'm using myself. So let's kind of work through, what's going on here. So on the top, you can see that the basic formula for determining your maintenance calories is you take the number 12, you multiply that by your body weight. That's going to give you approximately what your maintenance calories are. Now let me pause here for just one quick second, because if you search for how to calculate your maintenance calories on the old internet, you're going to find several equations. You're going to find a handful of different ways to do this. And so this is not the only way to arrive at this number, right? This is absolutely not, an exhaustive list, a list of one. This is not the only way that you could find your maintenance calories, right? There's a number of ways that you can. But I'm just speaking from experience. This way works really, really well. What I'm going to give you all tonight is something that I am highly confident for 85 to 90% of you, if not more, you will be able to find your maintenance calories in about a week. Possibly even less than a week. And if you think about it, if you've never tracked your macros before in your life, and you're like, man, I would love to know my maintenance calories because I want to lose fat. I would love to know my maintenance calories because I want to gain muscle, right? Whatever you're trying to do, we can get you there in 6-7 days, right? I'm highly confident that this will get you there in 6-7 days. I can't say the same for the other models and equations that are out there. I'm sure some of them are very, very good, but I know that this is a kind of a tried and true, method. All right, so once you know your maintenance calories, what we then want to do is we want to remember that all calories are broken down into our good old pals, the macronutrients, or the macros for those of us that are on the streets. You got protein, you got carbs, you got fats, right? There's your PCF. So here's what you want to do. You want to set your protein number first. So, it's classic bodybuilder meathead wisdom, right? You set it at 1 gram per pound of body weight. I actually usually set it a little bit higher than that for a bunch of reasons that I won't get into tonight, just because I don't want to get off track. Maybe we'll do that on a future shred too. If you guys want to hear anything about that, let me know. If you guys have ideas for topics, by the way, if you guys have any questions, remember, drop them down below. I'd love to answer any questions you guys have. If you guys have ideas for shreds, right, that, things that you're struggling with when it comes to fat loss, hey, let me know, man. Like, I'm always on the hunt for, content ideas. So just drop them down below. But set your protein about 1 gram per pound. You're not going to be too far off. You could go a little bit higher, in my opinion, and there are some benefits to that. But usually between somewhere in the range of 8/10 of a gram per pound up to like 1.2 or 1.3 is a pretty good level to start with. And just a quick little side note. If this is brand new for some of you, if you've never tracked your macros before, and you're excited to start tonight or tomorrow, then hey, first of all, I think that's phenomenal. But second of all, let me warn you, eating this amount of protein, you're going to be shocked at how much chicken you've got to put away. Like, you're going to be amazed at how many cans of tuna you have to store at various spots in your home so that you can hit your protein targets, right? Like, it is absolutely going to be, it's going to bedazzle you in terms of just how much protein you need to eat. But trust me, it's good for you. Second, you actually want to skip over the carbohydrates. I just put PCF because, that's the way that it's typically referred to in the bodybuilding circles. You actually want to set your fat number next. And the fat, in the research and the literature and kind of what the evidence suggests is you don't want to go below 0.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. Now, you might be wondering, Jim, why didn't you convert that over to pounds to make it easier on every single one of us? And you know, I'm actually wondering the same thing myself right now. But hey, at least this gives us a quick shout out to all of our pals out there rocking the metric system. And so, you know, we got to give them a little bit of love from time to time too. So 0.6 grams per kilogram. Don't worry, you don't have to figure it out. I'm going to show you an example here in a second. But yeah, so 0.6 grams per kilogram. Once you have your protein set, once you have your fat set, now remember, this is a minimum level of fat. You see, you want your fat, you know, greater than or equal to, I guess, would be a better way to kind of describe this number. You can go higher than that if you want to, and I'll kind of walk through that on the example on the next slide. But once you have your protein set and you have your fat set, and you know your maintenance calorie level, I mean, it just becomes a third grade algebra problem at that point, right? It's, you know, 2x equals 3, solve for x. Right here, you're just solving for the carbohydrates. You're just filling in the puzzle with the amount of carbohydrates that you need to get you up to your maintenance calorie level. And so let me show you guys, or y'all for my Memphis listeners out there, let me show y'all how this works out with an example. So all right, so now let's plug some actual numbers in and see how this all kind of works out. So let's say you're 200 pounds, and you know the top relationship, the top equation would just be 12 times 200 equals 2400. So 2400 is your maintenance calorie level. This is the level, right? Approximately, right? You have to, I'll tell you kind of how to adjust here in just a second. But this is where your body weight is probably going to stay about the same from one day to the next. You set your protein at 200 grams for these are daily targets. You set your protein at 200 grams, just 1 gram per pound of body weight. There are 4 calories per gram of protein, so that's 800 calories. You then go down and you look to calculate your fat numbers. You obviously begin by Googling, how do I convert kilograms to pounds? Once you figure that out, you figure out that 0.6 grams per kilogram is 55 grams on a 200-pound individual. It's actually really simple. You just take 200 divided by 2.2 because there's 2.2 pounds per kilogram. Then that gives you some number that's around 90-ish. And then you just take 0.6 of that number. That gives you about 55. So in this case, you know, you want your fat greater than or equal to 55. We're just going to set it to 55 for this example, right? To make it really, really simple. But you could go higher if you want to. It would just reduce your carbohydrate intake. So that's 495 calories for fat, because there's 9 calories per gram of fat. That leaves you with, if you look at that right-hand most column there, that 1105, that leaves you with 1105 calories to work with to allocate to your carbohydrates. If you take 1105, you divide it by the 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates, so protein is 4, carbs are 4, and fats are 9, you divide 1105 by 4, that's 275. Now, some of you thinking, Jim, like, whoa, dude, like, you lost me at Google kilograms to pounds, bro. Like, I didn't realize that, you know, I was tuning in for a Khan Academy lesson here tonight. Like, yeah, like, I got it, man. You know, like, if you're looking for the easy way out when it comes to maintenance calories, there is no easy way out, man. I mean, this is straight out of Rocky IV. There is no easy way out at all. This is the only way to do it, man. You're gonna have to roll up your sleeves and put out a little elbow grease and just figure out what this number is. But man, the dividends are huge to mix in a little finance terminology into a fitness only segment. So here we have our macros set: 200, 275, and 55. This is probably where your maintenance calories or maintenance levels will be. Now, let me answer a few kind of frequently asked questions at this point. Let me pop on camera to do this. So here are a couple of questions that you naturally might have. If you have more questions, let me know. Again, I'll try to get to all of them tonight in the morning. I'll make sure whatever question you have, whether you want to email me, just jschultzf3@gmail, or drop it in one of the comments below, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. It's all good, man. Just let me know. But let me try to kind of jump the shark a little bit and answer a couple of the more commonly asked questions that I hear on a frequent basis. So the first one is this: Jim, does it matter whether I eat carbs or fats? You know, you got keto, keto and all that stuff. The answer is no, it actually doesn't matter. Once you control for calories, right, the research shows that once calories are controlled for, it doesn't make a difference. Whether you eat carbs or fats. Forget about ketosis. Forget about, autophagy with intermittent fasting, all that stuff. When it comes to just fat loss, when it comes to just body composition and physique changes, it doesn't make a difference, right? Now, we could talk about the overall health, angle another time, another place, but just from a fat loss standpoint, it doesn't make a difference. So how do you determine what you should eat? Well, I mean, just look at the foods that you enjoy, right? Like if you enjoy eating oatmeal, then eat oatmeal, right? You'll have higher carbohydrate numbers. If you enjoy eating sweet potatoes, then eat sweet potatoes. You'll have higher carbohydrate numbers. If you enjoy eating Captain Crunch, then heaven forbid, have you a bowl or 2 or 5 of Captain Crunch. As long as it fits your macros, right? Then you're going to have, a higher carbohydrate number. If you love things like peanut butter or, almond butter or, just guzzling shots of olive oil, then obviously have a higher fat number. It doesn't make a difference once you fit it in to your total macros and your calorie goals for that day or for that week or whatever time frame you're working with. Obviously, we're working with days here, but you could also kind of extrapolate things out to like weekly averages, which is something I really like to do for myself, for the students inside of Full Throttle and whatnot. But it doesn't make a difference. You can eat carbs, you can eat fats. Makes no difference whatsoever. That's the first thing that I wanted to answer. The second thing is this, and this is probably even a more natural question that you might have. All right, Jim, this looks cool, man. I might give this a shot. I think you should. But you might be wondering, okay, so now what do I do if it doesn't work? What do I do if I'm eating this amount of food and my body weight is going up? The first thing you need to do, the very first thing you need to do is you need to be open and honest with yourself and run yourself through a little data integrity check. Right? Like, how are you doing on bites and licks and nibbles, right? How those BLTs doing, right? Those bites, those licks, those tastes, right? Because they count. They add up, right? Now, obviously, if you have a bite of, your wife's broccoli, is that going to make that big of a difference? No. But ain't nobody having bites of broccoli, right? You're having bites of ice cream, and you're having a handful of nuts, and you're having, licks of more ice cream, right? And so these things add up, right? I mean, it can be a couple hundred calories per day very, very quickly. So the first thing I would do is I would run through some data integrity checks on yourself. Assuming your data is legit, assuming that it's clean and it does maintain a very high level of integrity, then here's what you want to do. If your body weight is going higher, right, give it a few days, give it 2, 3, 4 days. If your body weight's going higher, then just take your carbs and your fats down a little bit. Maybe like 15, 20 carbs, maybe 3, 4, 5 fats. It kind of depends on, where your original numbers are. For you smaller females out there, you don't have a lot to work with. For you, larger males out there, you do have a lot more to work with. And so it's hard for me to give you a blanket statement. But, generally speaking, cut, I don't know, 7 to 10% of your carbs and then, maybe 7 to 10% of your fats. Right? And then then run that for a few more days and then see if that doesn't do the trick. If that doesn't do the trick, now you're 6 or 7 days in, you'll probably know what will do the trick. Right? That's kind of why I led off tonight's shred by saying, we'll get you there in about a week. It typically only takes a couple of 3-day windows with a very high level of data integrity to figure out what this is. Right? Now, the flip side is also true. You might notice, and a lot of our students inside the course actually notice this because of the way that we, suggest they eat and that kind of stuff. But if you actually notice that your body weight starts falling, you're like, whoa, man, my body weight's going down. This is crazy. This is great. You need to eat more. Like, you need to actually increase your calories. And that may, leave you with your head spinning on the other side of the lens tonight. But you've got to do that because you've got to be strategic about this. You got to do that because you need to get away by eating the most you possibly can now. Because later on, right, like if you got 40 pounds to lose, losing the first 5 is going to be easy. Losing the next 5 is going to be easy. It's going to be losing that last 5. That not only is not going to be easy, but man, it's going to completely change the way that you look. And so that last 5 or 10 pounds can be extremely valuable. But if you're not strategic on the front end with how you set things up, then you leave yourself with nothing left at the very, very end. Trust me, I've done this to myself more times than I care to admit. And it is not fun. It is completely avoidable if you do things and set things up in a strategic way, kind of to begin with. So let me leave you guys with a little action item, and then we'll let you guys go. So find this number, man. Do it. I'm telling you right now, right? you will know exactly how to structure your nutrition to hit any fitness goal that you might have. This number is so powerful, guys. I'm telling you, man. It's a pain. It is a huge pain. It is a huge commitment, right? Tracking macros, finding maintenance calories, all that stuff, carb cycling. It all begins with your maintenance calories, but everything, that comes along with that, like tracking and weighing. I mean, it's a pain, right? It is an absolute pain in the rear. There is just no way around that. It does get easier. You do get a lot more efficient at the process. So in the beginning, if you've never done this before, you're going to stumble, you're going to bumble, and it's going to be a huge, it's going to feel very overwhelming and cumbersome. But trust me, when you get the process streamlined, it's only going to take you a few minutes a day. It really, really legitimately is. But it's still a pain. But man, it's worth it. Once you know this number, it's like your eyes are just going to open up. You're going to be like, wow, I know that my maintenance calories are 2,600, let's say. Like, I know my own personal maintenance calories are about 2,600. Because I know that number. I know. I'm not guessing. I'm not hoping. I know. If I eat 2,000 calories a day or 2,100 calories a day, I know I'm going to lose fat. I know I'm going to hit my weight loss goals. I know that I'm going to get ready for the stage like I do when I'm in competition prep, as a competitive bodybuilder and whatnot. That's a powerful thing, man. Like, you're not guessing. You're not hoping. You know. There's knowledge, right? That is so empowering, right? So many people, when they diet and they get in these fat loss phases, they're all excited and they're super motivated and they're super inspired, which is all great, right? But we all know that stuff fades, man. That stuff fades away. And then what are you left with? You're kind of left with, the boredom of just doing the same monotonous, mundane things day in and day out. Well, you know what makes that process, that boring process, a whole lot harder? Not knowing if what you're doing is working. Not knowing if what you're eating is going to get you to your goal. Here's what's amazing. Follow the steps that I showed you all tonight. This is exactly what I do. Exactly. I didn't leave anything out. I gave you guys all of it. Totally free. Follow these steps and you will know your maintenance calories. You will know what you need to do to execute your plan, and you will know what needs to get done to hit your goals. And that's really powerful stuff, man. Really, really powerful stuff. So, man, that is about it for the shred tonight. You guys are amazing. If you guys tuned in tonight, you guys are incredible. If you watched live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you happen to be tuning in from, you guys do not know how much I appreciate you guys. I know, even in the quarantine, right? There's so many things on Netflix that you could watch. There's so many things on Hulu that you could watch. There's so many things on Disney Plus that you could watch, right? But you guys chose to spend some time with me. And so, man, I'm so, so humbled by that. I really hope that you guys got a little bit of value from tonight. If I can help you guys in any way, let me know down below, wherever you're watching this. Shoot me an email, just jschultzf3@gmail. Hit me up on social media, just jschultzf3 across the board. If you guys want more content, just like podcasts, the YouTube channel. Well, obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you're already there. But, podcast, YouTube channel. What else do we have? We got free stuff like the fat loss formula. Hey, we got paid stuff. You can send me some of those internet munums like Full Throttle Fat Loss. You can check all that down in the description below for Facebook and YouTube, and then up in my bio over there on Twitter. And that's it, man. I think next week we're going to talk about gaining muscle and losing fat simultaneously. I kind of talked about those newbie gains, tonight, but there was a few other scenarios that could be relevant for some of you guys out there. So I think that's what we'll do next week. But that's it, man. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you guys have a great, great weekend. And God bless you all, man. We'll see you next time.